probably fine.
Is it honking?
Huh?
Shot?
I'm not gonna. I mean, maybe I'll use this, but I probably won't use this. But I have the storage to kill, so it's fine.
Now?
We have. I think we have.
I could cancel anxiety over nothing.
You play basketball?
No, but old people come up to me all the time and say, "How's the weather up there, sweetie?"
Yeah, then you spit on him and go, "It's raining."
It's raining.
Yeah, exactly.
They will call a cop and you'll be charged with battery. You ever battered somebody?
Ever.
My grandmother prayed in Xhosa, even though she's fluent in English, but she would pray in Xhosa. And when we would pray as a family, we'd have prayer meetings at the house, and she would ask me to pray on behalf of the family because I prayed in English. And she always said I spoke like the English, that I had no accent, I had no African accent. She was like, "You're speaking real English," and so she believed that God would hear my prayers before hers. Because the God that she had been taught to worship was an English God. God had been translated into Zulu, but he wasn't originally, And I mean, now as you grow older and you learn, you're like, oh wait, God's not even English apparently, but that's besides the point. So my grandmother was like, you speak his language, tell him what we need, tell him about what's going on. And I would be like, but he speaks every language. And she's like, yes, but that one is a shortcut. My grandmother.
After 2 months of talking.
Hey, Mom.
Hijo, ya tienes el pelo largo.
Ya sé que está largo. Yeah, I know my hair is long.
Pues vayas a cortar el pelo. Que se te vean los chinos bonitos.
Bueno,
Acuérdate.
okay.
Que la inteligencia no tiene nada que ver con los podongos,
Ya sé. Alright.
No, pues. ¿Qué estás haciendo?
Nomás haciendo un ensayo. Just working on an essay for school. Oh, ¿sabes qué? Qué bien que me llamaste. Oh, it's a good thing you called me. I think you might be able to help. Do you mind if I ask you a couple questions? Es que es una clase de It's an Armenian class. Es un país, country in Europe. Pero es que... No, ya sé que eres mexicano. No, I know you're Mexican. No. Y nomás es que la clase, lo que estamos leyendo, se trata de la cultura. It's just the readings we're doing in class, they're about language and culture. Y luego yo tengo... And I want to see if I can make a connection to my own culture in the essay.
Cultural. O sea que me puedes contar sobre...
So can you tell me about how it was like growing up in Mexico? I know it's a lot, yeah. Yes.
How do you sing?
It's the one recording. So
The one recording.
Yeah.
So you mean for the past 20 minutes we've been syncing audio and you've been clapping at the camera for nothing?
The first time maybe it was useful. Then
Okay.
the follow-ups were redundant. Yeah.
So we're in the seed room right now, which if you don't know what it is, that's probably a good thing.
Probably.
It's just some scholarship room that we have, and we have some board games because like science themed.
Science, yeah.
And I'm not a fan of being interviewed because it's boring, and I'm a fan of board games because they're fun.
Yeah, that's so
So
valid.
we'll play a board game.
Yeah.
Which 2 points of reference is the Celsius scale based on?
Which 2 points of reference? Well, we got the freezing point and we got the boiling point.
Good. How do you know that?
I'm naturally gifted in the sciences, I think.
That might be true. That might be true. You know how I knew it?
How'd you know it?
Okay, so back when I was younger,
Yeah.
we used to go to India every so often.
Yeah.
And my uncle, he lives in a place called Goa, which is
Okay.
like on the coast of India, so it's like a little water town. And it was colonized by the Portuguese,
Yeah.
as opposed to most of India, which is colonized by the British.
Yeah.
And so there's like a difference in how they communicate, like temperatures.
Okay.
So like, we have Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
And in like most of India, they have
Right.
Celsius.
Yeah.
But in Goa, they use this thing called centigrade, which is interesting because it's like a sort of different way of expressing the same like Celsius like name. So like centigrade, like it's the same exact thing. It's just they call it a different thing. If that makes sense. So it's like in like let's say you were in like Delhi, like, oh, it's like 23 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
But if you're in Portugal or not Portugal, if you're in Goa, it's like
Yeah.
it's centigrade.
The same thing.
yeah.
Just different name.
Yeah, that always confused me because one, when I was younger, like 8, and I was in
Yeah.
India, like one, I couldn't even wrap my head around there was 2 different temperatures.
Yeah.
So my uncle was like, "Oh, it's 23 degrees Celsius outside." I'm like, "Then why isn't it snowing?" Like, why is it so hot outside?
Yeah.
And then 2, when I finally got to explain Celsius, and that's like back when I was like 12.
Yeah.
Because there was like I was doing algebra.
Okay.
I was a really advanced 12-year-old. I was doing the whole fraction thing, which I still can't do to this day.
Yeah. Hella real.
But there was like they were doing the Celsius conversion, and all of a sudden my grandma started talking about centigrade, and I was like, no shot, there's not this thing. And now there's Kelvin too. I don't know if you can see the card, but there's also Kelvin, which is like even more confusing.
Making stuff up.
Does your family use Celsius or Fahrenheit?
No, yeah, like in Mexico where her mom's from, she only ever learned Celsius. I've never heard of, what was the other one?
Centigrade.
Centigrade in my life. And then I only ever learned Fahrenheit. And it took like, what did it take for me to learn Celsius? I think it was like sometime in high school.
Yeah.
Never learned it.
It's like a late. Like you learn it late.
until like some chemistry class where they were
Yeah.
like, Fahrenheit is actually fake. Only bakers use it.
Only bakers use it.
Oh, hey there, Christopher.
Oh, hey there.
What are you doing?
I was just about to make some green tea.
Green tea? Why green tea? Is that like your favorite or something?
Well, I'm actually half Chinese.
Oh.
And green tea is very popular among Chinese people and other East Asians. Kind of grew up drinking it, actually.
Oh, I didn't know that about you, Christopher. Where did you spend most of your childhood?
I stayed my entire life in my hometown.
How was it then like for you? Like the only real experience I guess you had to your culture or cultures was kind of secondhand through your parents and not so much through the community you grew up in?
So when I would encounter people that were more immersed in their respective culture than me, it made me kind of feel like almost like a fake Chinese person or a fake European person, because I felt like my culture understanding wasn't as in depth as it should be, I guess.
That's really interesting. Hey, Isha, what are you working on?
Oh, I'm just making a research poster for the job I work at. Actually, it's a super interesting concept. I never realized that some of the posters we make, we actually have to translate in other languages based on, where we live. Like here in California, there's a lot of Spanish speakers, so we translate our posters to Spanish, which is pretty cool.
Oh, no way. Is there any particular reason like you found this line of work interesting?
Well, I've always been interested in biotech space in general, but something I didn't realize as an English speaker myself, like English is my first language,
Right.
but for many people that's not the case.
Yeah.
And there shouldn't be this huge barrier where just because you don't speak English, you don't know information that's pertinent to your heart health. Because no matter what language you speak, you have a heart that needs to be taken care of.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so if you can't take care of your health because you have barrier to basic information that other people don't have barriers to.
Right.
That's directly correlational with like living conditions.
Yeah.
So I think it's just really, really important and not talked about.
Yeah, accessibility, regardless of where you're from. If you don't mind me asking, where are you from?
Oh, so my family is originally from India. Both my parents immigrated here, so they're both first-generation immigrants. They immigrated from Bangalore area, like Udupi, Bangalore, which is in Karnataka, a South Indian state.
Mm-hmm.
And I was born in Pennsylvania, so I was born in the United States.
Oh, totally. And so you never kind of got to experience life back where your family's from?
No, so I've lived here my whole life, but we go back to India once every like 2 to 3 years. And it's especially an extra layer because I'm a second-generation immigrant.
Yeah.
And so I'll go back and it's almost like, am I Indian enough to be here? Question mark. Because like, yes, I can understand the languages they speak, but not as well as they can. I don't speak it very well. And there's certain phrases you only know if you've like grown up in the culture.
Right.
You know, so there's always that too.
Yeah, no, I get that. Like, same for me growing up. I like don't know, much of the Spanish lingo, but I don't know. Have you found ways to feel connected with your culture despite being second generation and not living
Yeah. So one really cool thing is that the city I live in, it's very highly Asian demographic. Like a lot of my neighbors and school friends are either East Asian or South Asian.
Right.
And of course there's many different cultures within like Asia as a whole continent.
Right.
But there are a lot of similarities between different forms of Asian culture that are sometimes different from more, like European cultures or like Latin American cultures. And so it's nice to have that connection. Like for example, people at my school will understand that, Diwali is a holiday that we celebrate. And it's about like a festival of lights. And people often know the story behind it or celebrate it themselves. Whereas some other Indian immigrants living in less Asian-dominated areas might have to explain that. Or people might have a second question about it that I have the privilege of sometimes not dealing with. So that is something really cool about where I'm from.
Bueno, yo nací en Culiacán, Sinaloa, México. Viví toda mi infancia en el estacionamiento del parque, una comunidad tranquila. En mi casa era normal, era de ladrillo. Éramos pobres, pero allá en México todos los pobres tienen su casita.
¿De ladrillos? ¿Era que se común?
Porque hace mucho calor.
Oh, so raised in an average brick home in Sinaloa, México. ¿De dónde eran tus dos padres? Where were both your parents from? ¿De mismos lugares? O?
No, mi mamá nació en Guadalajara, pero se crió en Culiacán. Y mi papá es de Cozalá, Sinaloa, pero se crió también en
They're from
Culiacán.
different parts of
Pues
Mexico.
Cozalá, Sinaloa es como si fuera un ranchito, como un ejido. Y donde nació tu papá Kiki, o sea, mi papá, ahí sí había antes.
My Papa Kiki's family were rancheros. Él sí era de rancho. So it was like a flex to own a horse as opposed to like a car.
Así pues.
No. En lugar de
Eso era
carros.
lo normal. No, pues fíjate que eso a mí no me tocó.
Pero como tu padre tampoco o
A mi papá a lo mejor sí, pero él se fue a estudiar a Culiacán.
o sea que al padre de tu ¿cómo se dice? Mi bisabuelo, él sí le tocó como la vida así, rural. Bueno.
De hecho, el papá de mi papá se robó a tu abuelita en una mula.
¿Cómo? ¿Cómo que se la robó? What do you mean he stole my grandma in a donkey?
Un caballo, pero era una mula y se la llevó.
¿Eso qué?
Y ya después se casan.
¿Eso así se hace? ¿Se roban las vacas?
Sí, porque eran de rancho, pues.
No manches.
Así como se van los novios sin permiso de los papás ahora.
Ajá.
Y que se van en carro, pero antes se iban en burro, en buey, en lo que fuera.
Y luego, ¿por qué? At what age did you move away from your parents and how come?
Antes en México también no te salías de tu casa, si no te casabas, no te salías de tu casa. Ahí te quedabas con tus papás.
Aunque
No era de
tengas
como
30
aquí.
o no sé qué.
Ajá,
Ahora.
como aquí que ya ves que cumplen 18, 19 y ya
So
se
it's
van a
totally
vivir solos.
normal for adults to
Allá no,
live with
allá
their
si no te
parents.
casabas, te quedabas con tus papás.
Pero eso era normal, o sea que todos...
Eso, ajá, aunque fueras hombre o mujer. Te quedabas con tus
Órale.
papás.
Y nadie, porque aquí en los Estados Unidos, si no te vas a los 18, como que
Completely
es
unlike the
como la
US,
regla.
where
Pero allá
you're
no.
supposed to leave at 18.
No,
Ah,
era
pues-
normal. Y apliqué con una comunidad de religiosos para ir a dar servicio a jóvenes para jóvenes
Ajá.
de la iglesia. Y me aceptaron y yo le pedí permiso a mi papá y a mi mamá que me dejaran ir un año.
Oh, she convinced her parents to let her volunteer at a church in Tijuana for a year.
Pues por eso me vine a Tijuana.
Pero luego, ¿cómo es que te quedaste
But
en
then,
Tijuana?
why did you stay in Tijuana?
Pues porque conocí a tu papá.
Ah, my dad.
Ah, o sea que...
So the next card
Yeah.
is dead pixels.
Okay.
So what is a dead pixel?
I'm guessing smartphone giving out, light or not giving out light in one of its little pixels.
Yeah, and what does LCD stand for?
What?
LCD, what does it stand for?
I don't know.
Liquid Crystal Display.
Okay.
What does LOL stand for?
Laugh out loud.
Why do you know that but not LCD?
I guess the former is not very relevant to me.
Do you think it's like all about relevance?
Probably, yeah.
Like how much you encounter things?
How much I encounter things. Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
Do you know that, like I text my grandma a lot?
Yeah.
And I'm like, LOL. And then she's like, what is LOL? Because older generations are not familiar with like all the acronyms that people use. When my granddaughter is over with my dad and my uncle,
Yeah.
they like talking in Bengali. And I have not a lick knowledge about Bengali.
Yeah.
And so I have just no clue what's happening. I have to constantly be like, hey, like, can you say that in English? Because, when you're with your family, you're all talking at a dinner table, for example. You're all talking at a dinner table, and it's like, oh, like, they're all talking in Bengali, and I'm just here, like, eating my, like, rice.
What's
and,
going on?
and, yeah, like, I don't know what that means. And I think even beyond that, like, I think just food is a good example.
Yeah.
Me and Joel went to an Indian store the other day.
We did.
And I showed Joel papad.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it was like I know what papad is because I made papad before. But it's like not always clear what certain things are, right? What did you ask me? It was like you asked me about some food and I had no clue. What did you?
Asked you about some food.
Yeah, you asked me about some food and I just what was the food?
I pointed at a picture. I couldn't tell you.
And I just didn't know what it meant. I was like, I have no clue. Google it. I mean, if Googling, we still couldn't find out what it meant.
Yeah.
But I think that at certain levels, it's like if like I am just as disconnected from that culture if I don't know the food.
Yeah.
There's words for food, or just objects, as someone who's a complete outsider is.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because like we're both stuck Googling it, and we both can't find it on Google. So if I didn't know because I don't know the word, we're reduced to the same level of knowledge.
Right.
Even though I presumably have a very cultural connection because I know other foods.
Yeah.
Yeah. New card.
New card. You know Mandarin like fluently?
No, not fluently, unfortunately. I can hold basic conversation.
Oh wow, that's still awesome.
I do think learning the language at least a little bit made me more comfortable with my culture. If you think about it, like, if you can imagine a sign with Chinese characters, I'm sure a lot of people's first reaction is like, oh my god, that looks so complicated and scary.
Yeah.
How could anyone ever write that? And I think I had like a similar reaction to seeing Chinese characters when I didn't know Mandarin. But something that a lot of non-Mandarin speaking people don't know is that Chinese characters are made up of, I guess, almost like baby characters called radicals.
Oh cool.
And those baby characters contribute to the meaning of the word. So, for example, the word for country in Mandarin, guo, it's actually a picture of a man on the ground with a spear surrounded by a border.
Wait, that's super cool. Like in the language, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, but obviously you wouldn't know that if you hadn't taken some time to understand it. So I think taking some time to like fundamentally understand the language help it seem more approachable and less scary.
¿Extrañas México?
Do you miss Mexico?
Claro, extraño mucho mis raíces, mi casa.
Of course. Her house, her mom, her family. It was all there.
Salía mucho a pasear.
When she was in Mexico, she went out a ton. She had a social life.
¿Te sientes también?
In the US, do you feel out of place for not knowing English?
Sí, me siento diferente por no saber el idioma. Cuando me siento conectada.
When she feels most connected with her home is when she's at church here.
Porque en la comunidad esa pues todos hablan español.
Everyone
Y es
speaks
el ambiente
Spanish.
en el que yo viví en
Everyone commits to the same traditions she's used to.
que pues iba a misas, así pues lo que yo hago pues que me gusta ir a pláticas, o sea, me siento como si estuviera en México pues.
But out of necessity, you can't go back.
Ajá. Por mis hijos. Pues ahí me avisas si ocupas tu.
Oh, I think her lunch break is over.
Si quieres que te cuente, tuve perros, tuve gatos.
¿Sí tenías?
She had cats and dogs back home she was telling me about.
Una gata llegó al patio de la casa. Allá.
¿Y era amable o qué?
Oh, yep, her time's up.
Ya se acabó mi tiempo.
Bueno,
Ahí después te platico la historia del gato y del perro.
Sí, ok. ¿Por qué no me dijiste antes? No manches.
Después te platico.
Bueno, pues ya.
I'll let you go now.
Ay, te amo, Dios te bendiga.